as the African community who are living in Minnesota, and especially at the Twin Cities, whereby the community arranged for a conversation with the youth. We have so many problems facing the youth, especially gun violence, drugs, and AIDS. So today the community has actually come forward to try to tackle some of these issues head on by inviting the youths and letting the youths speak out how they can help other youths who are involved, or those youths who are also involved can also give more information not only to the law enforcement department but the community leadership to ensure that we remove all these vices from our community. And when we speak about the AIDS virus or HIV AIDS, we are also trying to ensure that our community is really involved. And from one of the community leaders has actually indicated here, is saying that this is a problem which we are going to tackle, and the community is going to bring together community leadership. We are also going to bring some community experts to expound more on how we can help our youth and the community at large to ensure that this vice does not continue. Thank you very much. My name is Bernard from KDR TV Studios in Minneapolis. Thank you.
Always check my phone. He doesn't do that. But another thing is, it's good for you to let your child trust you and you trust your child also. It's good to have trust. If you have trust, then you're less worried about your child. You'll still be worried, but you're less worried about your child. For a fact, last year, this year, I started going viral on TikTok and stuff like that. And then I started going out a little bit more, because people wanted to start like hanging out with me more and calling me to a bunch of places. But I've always been some of my dad's project because.
Can y'all hear me? Okay, so this isn't necessarily answering the question, but I did just want to kind of piggyback off of what the gentleman in the red said. He had made the statement about how like there's kids that he grew up with, and now that he's older and they've gotten into like drugs and like gangs or whatever, he's not allowed to hang out with them. And I know a lot of the parents started clapping for that. And I just kind of had the thought that sometimes, I think most especially in our Liberian community, that like when parents see other kids struggling, the first thing they tell us is, so like,
come back to his house or meet up at his house before we go to a party. And there was never a reason to just be around and just be outside, because we knew there was a safer place to be that had food, had a parent, had whatever, just a safe place. So back to that kid that's in bad activities, like tell that kid to just come over, and instead of, I don't know, wherever they're going to the mall, like just stay at the house, just come inside and do whatever you want to do here, you know what I mean? So I think having a safe place to be where you can be yourself and also not be monitored is, well, that stuff. And I feel like that's a topic, like, why are people even interested in taking the risk of jail or prison or having a broken record or dying? Like, why are you even taking that risk? Why are you interested at all being around a gun, being around bad activities? We need to talk about the psychology of being into that stuff or being attracted to that stuff, because that's not something everybody has. I don't want to be around a gun. I have friends, whether it's safety or not, especially talking about protection. Like a lot of black people now are talking about buying guns due to protection, because we live in a society that targets black people. But even then, I'm a little triggered and afraid because I don't want to be around something that could end my life. So I think that's another topic or question, just the psychology aspect of, proximity to these things.
Thank you. So we're going to go to some solution-based issues in the...
Hi, sorry, I didn't expect to do this, but my name is Princess Gay. I am General's aunt. My sister is his mother. Thank you, Bishop Harding Smith. He's going to be speaking at General's funeral on Saturday. We did not expect to be in this place. I'm Air Force. I live in Las Vegas now. I used to actually work for Hennepin County with Public Defender's Office. I never expected, even though I had clients that were involved in gangs with guns and all this other stuff, I never thought that would be my life. I never thought, and the house I grew up with my nieces and nephews, that one of them would be gunned down in this way. So this stuff is stuff when we were younger, we honestly thought it was the African Americans, the Black Americans, those kids are doing these things. But honestly, it's all of our kids. It's affecting all of the children. So we have to really look within ourselves and how are these kids getting lost? How are they returned to gay? It's happening in the schools. Like I saw it. I went to Northview Junior High. I saw a kid getting stabbed. Like these things are happening when these kids are leaving their homes. And this is the stuff they're dealing with. And when they come home, they don't know how to talk about it. So we have to also, as parents, be conscious of the fact that these kids are struggling. They're struggling and going through so much. And if we're gonna find a solution, we have to actually sit down with these kids and talk to them like they are adults, because guess what? They feel like they're adults. They feel like they're old enough to have these discussions, so we need to have them with them and not just treat them like children. It's so easy in the Liberian community to be like, I'm the adult, you're the child. That's not working. So the sad part is that we're here, but these kids are.
It just gave me the whole different perspective about all this. Most of this is foreign to me. You know, as you guys said, we watch our kids, we give them what they want, what we want them, you know, in order to succeed, we give them all that. That kid over there was talking about the mom walking them to the car and all that. I put gadgets on my kid's car, I put gadgets on my kid's phone. I watch every move, you know, they have all this tracker on the phone and stuff. As the mayor was saying, they walk out there, they shut them location and stuff. But whatever it is, I think like in order, you know, so to change the community, I think we need to have communication between us parents. Not just the kids only, but also the parents to talk within each other and see how we're gonna talk. It's not like I'm telling you, oh, I saw your kid doing this and you just dismiss me or something. Oh, you think that I'm labeling your kid or anything. No, I think that's, to me, that's what I'm learning, that we should also communicate kids, not just to know, like, where is the cutoff and who are they helping and how is that gonna impact their life. I'm talking this for the remaining kids who are still here and surviving, that I understand the 17-year-old mind might not know like where the cutoff with all this help and stuff. And what am I getting from this, you know, doing this? Is that putting me in a bad side or what? So that's why I'm asking you kids to involve your parents. And if you think also you're struggling, we are here. We are here. We can help you if you need anything, you know. It doesn't have to be like material thing or whatever, emotion. You gotta share. Your mom, your dad, they're your parents. I don't think they should judge you. I don't think they should judge you, you know. And as, like, I come from African, you know, I was raised African and everything, my neighbor would say, stop that. I must stop. I must stop. I come here in America, it's like, neighbor talking to you, who is this person even talking? You know, I don't think the kid will even stop and listen. Yeah, so this, you know, you kid, I'm talking to the kids now, like, to change this. These adults are here to help you. So if you can find one you trust or you feel comfortable enough, it's fine. If you don't think that you can speak, or even if you're a relative like auntie, uncle, I'm sure you should find somebody you can talk to within your family. I'm begging you, like, if you're struggling, as adults, we are here for you. Just ask for help. Ask for help. Thank you.
Thank you.
At the end of the day, you can't force your child to do what you want to do. They're gonna end up doing it for themselves anyway, or you're just gonna lead them in the wrong path. So yeah, just explore, go to your community leaders, ask them, well, put your child in stuff, or let them put themselves in stuff.
Thank you.
That's good.
Any young person in the audience? I'm coming to you, young sir.
I feel like volunteering at a homeless shelter or even an animal shelter, even again, like what the young man said, in your church, I feel like helping others is very fulfilling. It gives you a sense of purpose, and I will also want to, agree with him on getting a job. Not only does it give you a source of income, but it gives you skills. It helps you develop long life skills that you will need in the future.
Thank you.
Well, for me, I used to be in a lot of, I used to have this Christian club that I used to go to. If anything, if you have like a friend or somebody that you're close to, you should invite them to hang out with you and join clubs and do activities, because it finds a way to distract you and fill any type of void if you feel lonely and stuff, because it's always better to be with people than to be by yourself.
Hi. I think I think that the kids do need activities and employment opportunities and to have an agent in their households. But I do feel like since we have parents, people in the community, we have police enforcement here also, that we should be more honest about this conversation. I think when it comes to parenting, it has changed since our age group. I'm 31, my wife's 28. And she raised her younger sister from 7th grade all the way up to college. And I think that this whole situation what we're missing an opportunity to understand, not only talk to your children, but also be more involved. The phones run everything. And I think with us not having a conversation about social media, these kids have 2 different social medias. A lot of you guys don't know this. When you're occupied in a space that is social media, you think the child's sitting right next to you. They're safe, they're here. There's cyber banging on there. There's cyber bullying on there. There's disagreements going on in there. It's important that you become more involved, not yelling and not just dictating to the child, but also talking to them. And yes, being more proactive in knowing who they talk to. How many Instagram pages do they really have? How many Facebooks do they really have? Is that their real page and their real name on Facebook? Because a lot of things that are happening are just culminations of what's happening on social media. So I think as parents, it's important that we're more participatory and more involved in our children's lives. We can't sit back and just say, okay, well, I got off work, you have something to eat, you have a roof over your head. And along with that, you don't want to be too overbearing and push them out the house, but there is a middle ground. We have to hit it. That's just what has to happen. And I think maybe we can ask law enforcement or ask the panelists that we have in regards to the children too, or some of the community leaders, how could parents learn more about social media? How can they learn more about connecting with their children? How can they learn more about possibly the signs or things to look for when it comes to these disagreements that go from, a small amount of disrespect to somebody's dead body? These are the questions we need to be asking them and asking everybody else as a community.
Thank you. I'm going to give one of the law enforcers the opportunity to address this young man question.
So in a law enforcement investigation, law enforcement gets involved at the bang, if you will, when the incident occurs. So there's this concept called left of bang, staying left of bang. We want to see what happens up until then, right? Because there's all these off-ramps. There's a beef, then somebody gets a gun, then somebody encourages somebody else to use that gun, and right up until that gun is used, right up until the bang, we're all left to bang. Once the bang happens, that's when law enforcement gets involved. We have some ability to influence left of bang, but our influence is mostly after the bang, which is, again, why we're here tonight, why the chief and I are here. We're listening, we want to hear what some ideas are to stay left of bang.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to have Mrs. Ganda say something in regards to that.
Something I will speak from my experience as a parent. We as parents need to be good listeners. We don't have all the answers to the questions our children have, and we don't know it all. The children use the gun, the drugs to empower themselves. That's why they are in the streets. And sometimes we as parents, we pay less attention to our children. When our children are having attitudes at home, we don't worry about it. We don't walk behind them and ask them questions. What's going on? Get concerned as a parent. Don't just watch your child having this funny attitude, walking through the house, not talking to you, going to their room, locking their door, and you think it's okay. They go places. Something I learned, sometimes when the schools call, the children have phone number that they change at the school. So when the school call, you will not get that call that your kid was not in school. These are things we parents, we need to find out. We need to find out. Go to the school, find out how your kid is doing. It don't have to be a parent-teacher conference. Just check. Pay attention. And sometimes the schools, the classroom, when my kid is not in class and you call, you did not get an answer from me. Or you just got, sometimes the kid, my daughter at one point put her friend on the phone to say she was the parent. They do these things. These are things that we as parents need to pay attention to. Because if we don't listen, they use the gun. And sometimes their tastes are so expensive. Their tastes, they go after expensive things. And you know, you as a parent, you can't afford it, they go to the drugs. So what do? Let's try as parents and do better. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to hear from you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Curtis Bryan, and I'm a community organizer. I work with the youth and mostly sports and recreation. I just wanted to tell you all a short story, and I'm glad that the heart of the city is here. Chief, how you doing, sir? And I'll go to Major. You know, gun violence started a long time in Brooklyn Park. And then we introduced this amateur soccer to the community. And then few years, we were successful in taking kids out from the street. If you are a resident of Brooklyn Park, and in the summer, from May to October, recreation-wise, if you are seeing more than 200 plus youths, we bring them out every weekend to play soccer. And we have been running this program for a few years, and we have made a lot of impact in the community. Where we come from, sports is a unifier, especially soccer. Our kids, 95% of our kids knows how to play soccer, so we use that to bring them together. So what I want to say here is that we need access to sporting facilities in our community, and we need to diversify the recreation. Over the time, we have had less access to this.
For all the young people that took part in this process, are giving out some already. For those of you that haven't gotten any yet, so we have snacks, water out there for all of the audience. You have been extremely graceful tonight. Continue. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, I will go to this question. Bishop Hattie, I'm going to start with you, Bishop Hattie Smith. What are some programs or activities or solutions, both policy-based, community-based, or program-based, that we can implement to impact our youth?
You know, there's a gentleman that just spoke not too long ago, and I was on that field during the July 26th, and I never seen so many kids out there coming together. There must have been 300 or 400 kids that were out there. And right now, you know, we got to reach our youth before the gangs reach them. We got to reach them first. And we got to implement things that they like to do. You know, like soccer. We can, some time ago, we had the Brooklyn Park Police Department against the Lone Star. Those were games, and kids was coming out and they were participating, and we were coming together as one community. You know, we need to seek out things for our kids to do. Mentoring helps, but we need to open up the gyms, let the kids come out, play some ball, and let out some steam. And so all of these things are very, very impactful. The more we can keep them in a controlled setting.
Over and over and over again. So the work I'm doing now is actually in middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th. We have a meditation club, and we teach them about self-regulation, emotional regulation. What is depression? What is anxiety? We talk about all of it. And one young man that I was able to connect with talked about the struggle of gang influence and being on the teeter-totter, the edge of knowing that he wants to live, but also wanting to see what the adventure is. Because at this age, developmentally, they are risk takers. There is an adrenaline rush to see how far you can get to the edge of either life or death. So what we are doing right now actively is every week we go in and we provide a space to learn how to meditate, slow their nervous systems down, and go back into their friends and teach the same skill set. There's never going to be enough licensed professional clinical counselors, but there's always going to be 1 million kids.
Thank you. Sir, Mr. Weir. Please make it really brief.
One of the things that we need to understand as parents is that America is not Liberia, where you have your gribble or crown tradition. You train children the way you want to train them. The youth that grew up here or that were born here, they don't know anything about your tradition over there. So sometimes my son will say, this is America, this is not River G County. So we need to listen to them. It is very difficult, but you have to understand where they come from. Sometimes I will be talking to my son, but you have to listen to me. I'm your parent. And he will say, no, it's just so difficult for you to understand where I'm coming from. And that's one of the problems that we have in the home. Let me just make a recommendation. The talent show, we tried that in the United Kingdom. We used to have musical concert, Liberian Youth Talent, and that brought a lot of children. But there was a prerequisite. In order for you to participate in a musical concert, you have to be a good boy or a good girl. So we have to do that. This forum, the police department and other government offices tried a youth essay or competition and let the children write what they think the problems are and what they think the solution will be. If you publish those documents, you distribute it in schools, many children will read it that are not here today. And I don't know how you're going to make use of these forums, or discussion, but that's one of the things that we want to do. Reverend Hardy, Bishop Hardy has been doing extremely well. That's somebody that we need to connect with, and other pastors. All the churches have youth. The pastors, Imam is here. Let them get to work. This is not OLM business, but let the pastors get to work. Let me just critique the pastor. I don't see them around that much when it comes to addressing these issues. The Holy Bible says the truth, and the truth will set you free. The pastor needs to wake up. This community is dying from youth crimes. Thank you very much, and I think we need to do more. Let's organize an annual youth conference where you bring youth from Broken Power,
Thank you, sir.
and other places.
Yes, Mr. Police Chief.
Thank you. There is not going to be a solution. I think we intuitively know that. We have heard a bunch of very smart people identify things that we know work, and they're absolutely, I've seen it with my own eyes, and many stories here prove that, and that is, it starts at home with the parenting and listening and being present and having the skills. And it involves youth programming. And the city of Brooklyn Park leads that. We started back in 2007 with programming, opening rec centers, having youth on the goal, and the list goes on and on and on. And we're very impactful. We have mentorship in all sorts of ways that we're touching kids. The schools are having these conversations about the violence in their schools, and they're touching kids and having youth groups and rebelling against violence and gathering good kids together. But yet we still see violence on the rise in our youth. The solutions is all of it together, working together. But I'm going to go right to where I see, and this is a little biased, I'm coming from the police perspective, but that's what you called me here for. Yep. And here's the failure that I see the government has right now. And I believe this grieving mother is absolutely a victim of this. And that is, when the small percentage of kids slip through the cracks, they don't want to play football with you, sir. They don't want to meditate with you because they got 3 friends. Maybe they got some underlying mental illness that never got diagnosed, and they want a sense of belonging, which a beautiful young lady brought that up, and that is so important because that's what gets them in a gang. They don't see it as a gang. They see it as people, brotherhood, love, like my colleague talked about with the Marines, something they would die for. They do die for it. That's how much they believe in it. So when we have a community like this coming together, we have great opportunities to do a lot of great things with these kids. But when those ones slip through the cracks and they are starting to commit a crime, you need generally the government to step in and help you. When your son is out and smokes that first marijuana joint, or doesn't show up to school, or steals his car, is riding around in a car for the first time, we need to love them enough to hold them accountable. The absolute failure in this county is we don't do that. Right now, I can tell you, today, I got statistics as of today, we've had 364 cars stolen in Brooklyn Park. It is a game to steal cars, drive them around, dump them, pick up another one, and go drive it around. And it's a game because I no longer allow my officers to pursue stolen vehicles because it is too dangerous for them, the community, and the young people in those cars to steal them. It's not worth a dumb car for somebody to get hurt or killed. Because when we do catch them, We can't bring them to jail. There is nowhere to bring you if you steal somebody's car. We bring you home. And then they laugh, they get out of the car, and they walk right down the street as we drive away in a squad car. This is how broken our judicial system is. And it's done under the best reasons. And I've watched this for the last 15 years. Really smart, great, wonderful people are trying to correct a disparity in our judicial system. And it is a ridiculous disparity how many people of color are being incarcerated, including our juveniles being brought down to Hennepin County. And that program is called the Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative, JDAI. And that initiative set out to do one thing, and that's reduce disparities in our judicial system. And it's done that by closing down any opportunity for people to get entered in. It didn't stop the crime. As a matter of fact, what we told our youth is it's okay to do that behavior, and there's no consequences. And that is a failure that I apologize on behalf of the government, because it leaves you with a kid that you can't control, and I don't mean you, but the small fraction of those of you that are trying to deal with a child that's starting to go wayward, and the government, who hopefully could have helped you correct the behavior, get them the mental health they needed, get them in the system, and at least tell them that right now you committed a low-level offense. But here's the path that we know that you're on, because when you steal a car, next week you're carjacking a car with a gun. The week after, you're involved in an incident robbery, and now the police are chasing you, but this time you had a gun and they don't turn off. And then you get in an accident and a family dies over it. And this is the paths that we see these kids and these individuals on. And my colleague stated perfectly, left of the shot being fired. Where we are really good as a government is when somebody's dead, we are all in on resources. I have 7 detectives working on the homicide for this grieving mother. The county attorney is calling daily, what are we doing on this case? When are we going to bring prosecution? I'm ready to put the case together. Get me more evidence. A man is already dead. 17-year-old boys were able to order guns on the internet and build them. They had been involved in many other crimes where somebody could have grabbed them. The judicial system could have helped parents out and said, no, we love you enough to say, no, you are not going to commit these crimes in the community. And it's not because we want to put you in jail because we're the color of your skin. It's because we love you enough to make sure we find a path for you that is meaningful and gets you corrected. And that is where I think the biggest gap in the system is that when it gets to our ability in law enforcement to help you out, we're really good when it gets really, really bad. But we're horrible early upstream. And I will tell you, I'll take the blame on police, and there's a lot of it. And I could talk about the industry and where we could do better, and we do have absolutely the best police department. I could talk about that. But still, the judicial system above the police, every time I talk to legislators, are closed. So I'll stop because I know we're short on time. But to me, and you see, I hope you feel the passion because I am passionate about it. This is, for me, where the rubber meets the road. This is where we're failing the system. This is where, if we don't start correcting it, and again, I'm not dismissing the disparities in our judicial system or in our over-policing of people of color. I'm the first one in line to go, we got to fix it. This is absolutely ridiculous, and I'm all in. But not to the extent of letting our children commit these crimes and act like we don't care, because to me, that's what they see. Nobody cares. So.
Thank you, sir.
I'll echo what the federal government doesn't, under almost any circumstances, prosecute juveniles. But if you've got juveniles who for 3 or 4 years have committed these crimes and have developed these patterns, then they turn 18 and do that. If you carjack someone in Minnesota right now with a firearm, you're going to get taken federally and you're going to get 10 years. If you sell fentanyl and you have a firearm with you, and that firearm has a switch on it, it's a 30-year mandatory minimum. There's no parole in the federal system. I can go the rest of my career without putting anybody else in jail. That's fine with me. I don't care. My goal is to reduce violent crime so that you guys can be on the street, be safe, and not have to worry about getting run over by a stolen car, so that people can go sell shoes and not get hurt. If that reduction comes because of changes in people's behavior and mindset and anything else I can do, or anything else that the rest of us can do left of that bang, happy to do it. But then once it happens, especially as after adults, then we've failed people. And I don't want that. And I know you guys don't either.
Thank you, sir.
I promised to give permission for just to jump on what he had said. Just to give you an idea, does everybody remember a year and a half ago when carjackings were out of control? They were in this community, in Minneapolis, all over. When U.S. Attorney Lugar came forward and said, enough, carjackings are going federal, you're going to prison if you pull a gun and carjack people. I can't tell you the last carjacking we've had in Brooklyn Park. The minute the word got out, and it got out, like literally we had informants, like the word was clear, you don't carjack anymore. The kids don't do it because they absolutely know you will go to prison. They watch their colleagues go to the U.S. Attorney's Office and get sent for 30 years to the federal prison. And now, we stopped it, but at the cost of these kids' lives. These kids are 18, 19, 20 years old. We had to put them in prison 30 years to get other people to stop carjacking like it was a game. Now, as successful as that is, there's a lot of failure in our system with that story, but it also shows accountability still works. It deters people from their behavior. It just shouldn't have to be a sword of 30 years in prison for making a mistake. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, thank you to everyone for being here. I'm just going to say a few things and I'll be done, okay? The key word here today, I want everybody to leave from here with the village functions well where there is consistency. If we can keep doing this, there's no one answer to all the questions, but there's togetherness to solve the problem. And if we can keep doing this, definitely starting from the homes, we take our responsibility. A lot of times people say the youth need mentorship. Me being a mentor over the period of time, I've come to realize that the parents too need mentorship. Let us form those smaller groups. Let us be accountable to one another. To me, it's illegal, in my understanding, for you to live to your next door neighbor and don't even communicate. So how can you hold the next person's son or daughter accountable when you don't even relate as parents? What's the example that you're leaving for the young kids to see that, yes, they can walk the path that you're walking? Finally, to the African community, you have to be able to transform, to be transformed. The culture here is different. And the kids seeking, I can say this because I'm a parent, successfully thus far raised 7 kids. My oldest son is 32. So I know what I'm telling you. I'm not reading, I'm living it every day. You have to have the conversation. And at the conversation, you cannot bring your culture here. The kids need to be heard. Everything needs to be open. Once you have the conversation, we'll definitely start to move in the right direction. But it's not a one-day thing. Again, the key word, consistency. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So